we're going to get started at 3 o'clock, and we remind you to, if you don't mind, turn off your video, mute your microphone, and use the chat feature to ask questions. We have a 30-minute program for you with 15 minutes of Q&A. And to get us started, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining the JA Tampa Bay Virtual Town Hall event. Today's event is focused on 3D schools by junior achievement and the transformative impact it would deliver to 4 Tampa Bay area public high schools this fall, launching at Chamberlain, Dunedin, Hillsborough, and St. Petersburg High Schools in August. In my tenure as president of JA Tampa Bay, we have always sought to bridge the gap between what students learn in school and the real world. 3DE schools will catalyze this connection even more, complementing our existing JA BizTown, our JA Finance Park capstone experiences for kids. I'd like to thank you to our 3DE JA Tampa Bay stakeholders whose combined efforts have brought us to the launch of 3DE. Now I want you to welcome our special guests, speakers for today. From 3DE Schools by Junior Achievement, Jack Harris, President and CEO. Anita James, Director of Strategic Partnership and Brand Development. Dr. Duke Bradley III, Vice President of School Leadership and Accountability. And we also appreciate having Dr. Mike Grago, Superintendent of Pinellas County Public Schools. And finally, a special guest speaker, Jalen Hudson, a 2020 Banneker High School graduate from Atlanta and a 3DE alumnus with us today. And responsible for moving us along is our JA Tampa Bay's Manager for Communications and Marketing, Johnny Sutherland. So appreciate all you. Johnny, take it away, man.
Thank you, Richard, and thanks very much for the introduction. Once again, guys, I just want to reiterate what Richard just said. If you could mute your microphones and turn off videos just for the rest of this event, purely for bandwidth reasons and for the speakers as well, that would be much appreciated. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, feel free to please type them in the chat. We'll be monitoring that throughout the session. And then upon the conclusion of the event, we will answer all of your questions. So with that being said, I'd like to welcome our first speaker for today. He's an individual who's made everything possible with 3DE. His leadership has been outstanding, and his vision has helped countless numbers of students already. Please welcome Jack Harris, President and CEO of 3DE Schools.
Thanks, Johnny. Thanks, Richard. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be able to do this town hall with you all. We're extremely excited about 3DE kicking off and launching in the Tampa Bay region this fall. And I'll just do a little bit of setup, and then the more important speakers are the ones that are following me. A little bit of context. I think many of the people that are on this call know about 3DE at this point in time. For those of you that might not, the entire reason why we developed this was a shared belief between the school districts that we have been working with, the business community, starting here in Atlanta, around how do we create a greater bridge between education and economic opportunity in a world that we know is changing at an ever-increasing pace. And for us, that idea of economic opportunity, it's things like how do we create for students a choice-filled life where they'll have access to diverse opportunities and diverse career options into their future? How do they have the agility to be able to navigate a career in a highly changing world where the skills that are needed today may be different than the skills that are needed in the future? And how do they have the drive and the intuition to actually be able to create their own paths versus having those paths created for them? And so we know that in today's environment, the complexity of what's happening from an economic perspective and in the world around us, that the an add-on or a bolt-on at the high school level, it just doesn't cut it anymore. And to create a solution that was really going to drive systemic change and was really going to impact at scale thousands of students, it would require us all thinking very creatively of how do we develop a model that's holistic, that's comprehensive, that's integrated, that truly does re-engineer the entire high school academic experience. We've been very fortunate to work with a number of very progressive superintendents and school districts, ones that have been pushing the envelope on innovation and thinking about things differently, companies that are willing to look at different ways to engage in education and how to make their investment of time and resources actually work to move the needle for students. And so as we've developed out the model, all based off of case method, we know that at a school level that we can increase engagement for students through higher degrees of relevance. We can increase academic comprehension because of the applicability of knowledge. And we also know that we can develop a lot of the essential skills that students will need going into the future, whether it's critical thinking, problem solving, or the like. I'm not going to talk too much of the details about exactly what 3DE is and the components. It'll come out as a course of the conversations as we go through today. But what we are really excited about is that as we've moved out of Atlanta and into an expanded pilot, Tampa Bay is quickly becoming one of our most important expanded pilot markets. With the leadership in Pinellas County, with Dr. Grago in Hillsborough County, we have 4 schools that will be launching in August in the Tampa Bay region. Those 4 schools make up a total portfolio of 23 schools that we'll have operating in this next school year across 4 different states, including the District of Columbia. And so we're excited to see what will be able to happen there. We're excited for the partnership that we have with JA of Tampa Bay and the leadership of Richard George and his team and the board and the business community that's already been stepping forward in a really big, major way. Of one note, of the national partners that we have engaged and involved with 3DE, one of those national partners is headquartered right in Tampa with ReliaQuest, and special thanks to Brian Murphy if he's on the call and his leadership in seeing the potential for what this could mean for students both within the Tampa Bay region as well as nationally. And so with that, Johnny, I'll turn it back to you.
Again, thank you very much, Jack, for your wise leadership, and we really appreciate that. Moving on, we have our next guest speaker who's been working very closely with the JA Tampa Bay team in ensuring that we have a successful launch. Pleased to welcome Anita James, Director of Strategic Partnership and Brand Development for 3DE. Anita, go ahead and take it away.
Hi, thanks, Johnny. Hello, everyone. I'm excited to be speaking with everyone today. I've had the opportunity to visit the Tampa market. I'm currently right now located in South Florida, but I support our schools in the entire Florida region as well as our Texas region. So I'm excited to just be chatting with you about our launch. So we're excited to excited to be coming to Tampa, and we believe that this will be the next flagship location. And that's all because of the energy that we're seeing among our superintendents, the schools and principals, and the strengths that our JA area office is bringing and the partners. So we're really, truly grateful for this partnership and sees Tampa as that next flagship outside of Atlanta. As we look towards next school year, we are going to 4 premier schools launching in the fall, and we have 4 outstanding principals, which I believe from our school district's perspective did an amazing job with finding the right type of school, with the right type of need and the right type of leadership to provide us to bring us to this point. So we're preparing right now for that upcoming school year. We're in the middle of teacher training that is actually being conducted virtually, and the engagement of our teachers are phenomenal. We have about almost 100 people on a virtual call, all hungry and eager to prepare for the start of the school year. We've also identified our on-site staff, those 2 individuals that will be supporting our coaching and supporting our teachers day in and day out at the schools, supporting our students and also stewarding our partners. So they'll be onboarded in the beginning of July and transitioning right into pre-planning with their cohort of teachers for the start of August. So as it's already been mentioned, there are 2 schools that will be going into Pinellas will be Dunedin High School, St. Petersburg High School, and our 2 schools in Hillsborough, which will be Chamberlain High School and Hillsborough High School. And they all have strong leadership and all have areas of growth. And so together, we all believe with this model combined with the strengths of the school, we'll be able to complete this transformation and be able to achieve that across the schools. And what's really exciting are our premier list of partners that have already been joined on and allowing our students to engage in a broad lens of industries. And these industries are high growth industries right here in the Tampa market that were identified by JA and truly are going to bring a diversification of experiences to the students through 9th through 12th grade year. So some of those, just to rattle them off, we have A-Line, Pinellas Education Foundation, Hillsborough Education Education Foundation and the Community Foundation. We have the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, Nielsen, Tech Data, Bank of America, and of course, Jack mentioned ReliQuest coming in as a national partner. So we are pretty much stacked for 9th and 10th grade as it relates to partners and that are signed on, but we are still currently building out that 11th grade and senior internship / consultancy experiences. So those opportunities are still available, and the team at JA would be more than willing to tell you more about those in its specificity and engagement. So as it relates to cases and that are activated, you guys may know the courses, the cases are going across the school year, multi-weeks, and infused in that are opportunities for business professionals. And these professionals are mentors that will be engaging with our students in the classroom. And for our business professionals, we truly are the ones that are bringing the real world experiences to life. So from JA and 3DE, we're committed into partnering with individuals that are captivating, that are magnetic, that are diverse, and are bringing applicable skills to the cases for our students. So know that we mentioned that we have national cases that are looking for partners to actually activate those. So plug if you ever want to actually volunteer in that capacity. And so looking on to the launch of August, no matter the format that we're going into, and we're looking for an exceptional year in the Tampa market. So we've worked with our schools and school district partners that have identified potential alternative formats for this upcoming year, which include the possibility of combined virtual learning or a combination of virtual / in-person scenarios. So some people are referring it to hybrid scenarios. Our 3DE teaching and learning department has taken the necessary steps on developing an appropriate resources and trainings to ensure the instructional model and critical attributes of the 3DE school is maintained no matter the format that we'll be going into. So some of those buckets or focus areas are curriculum and resources, teacher supports and development, instructional and industry engagement, as well as student competency development. So that kind of wraps up my piece of the portion. I know I'll be staying on to answer any specific Q&A that you guys might have, but handing it over to you, Johnny.
Thank you very much, Anita. And I know, obviously, we've been working really closely with Anita to make sure that all the staff positioning that we're onboarding in July is complete. And we're really excited about that moving forward. So with that being said, thanks once again, Anita. We'd like to introduce our next guest speaker, who has been instrumental in the advocacy for 3D schools in the Tampa Bay region. Welcome, Dr. Grago, who is the superintendent for Pinellas County Public Schools.
Well, thank you. And I'm really very, very pleased to be with you today. And thank you for your leadership, Richard George, of bringing 3DE into the Tampa Bay region, and Jack Harris for your leadership too, and partnering with the Tampa Bay region. You know, let me start out from a superintendent's perspective. That's something that Jack Harris said that I think is so true when it comes to high school education. So many things get thrown at high schools, but he said something that resonates with me, and I think we need to continue to focus in on. He said add-on and bolt-ons in high school levels just don't get it or cut it, I think. And that is so important. And when I first was previewed the 3D program, I examined it through that lens too. And I said, this isn't just an add-on. This isn't just a bolt-on. We keep adding to education, but rather instead of re-engineering some of the things. So from a superintendent's perspective, the lenses that I use to determine that 3D would be an intricate part of our growth and innovation in Pinellas County is the following. One is that it brings a tremendous amount of relevancy to the curriculum and to the educational environment. It's what our secondary students yearn for. It's what they speak about. I don't care what survey I ever provided to students, they yearn for relevancy. They yearn for the content of the academics to be meaningful to them and to show how this is going to be used in life. And so the concept of life and bringing life to subject content is truly an important endeavor. And 3D does that in a real life way. The second that we talk a lot about in education and really throughout our community is how do we increase the innovation, problem solving, higher order thinking skills of students. These are critical attributes in the job market, and we want every graduate to have these skills. It's easily said, it's very difficult to be performed or done or accomplished, and also to measure it, to determine that it's actually happened. The problem-solving components of 3DE truly focuses on higher order thinking skills and provides and presents students, as you'll hear, as I'm sure later on, some real-life cases, where students dive into that world of work and they dive into the critical thinking where there's not perhaps one answer, but there's a best answer given the set of variables that students have to really labor over. And the third thing that is so important in our world, and especially from a superintendent's perspective, is how do we connect that relevancy? How do we connect that innovation and problem solving with the future potential employment? And better yet, how do we partner with the communities, the businesses? The businesses in our community. As reflected earlier, some of the partners that we have in the Tampa Bay area. I'm thrilled that one of our first projects is with our own Pinellas and Hillsborough foundations, and that they aggressively stepped up and said, let us be the first, let us kind of pave the way. And I will be assured that other corporate sponsors and other corporations and businesses will certainly continue to step up with that. But I'm thrilled to start that out. But more importantly, it shows and demonstrates to the student body and to our instructors and teachers, let's not forget them, is the connection between what students are learning in the classroom to what they will be faced with, whether they go whatever level of post-secondary education that they're involved with, or if they enter the workforce immediately after high school. And what we're seeing is that more and more students are entering the workforce, still having to go to school, still going back to the workforce, still going back to school. So it's an in and out of education. But think about the amount of knowledge that students, when they're dealing with these real world problems in high school, what they're faced with and what they deal with and what they know about to make better, more informed decisions. So I look forward to not only in St. Pete High School in Dunedin, I know in Chamberlain and Hillsborough, I could speak for Hillsborough County too, is that we look for this to be a seed and not end here with these 4 high schools, but rather be more of a ripple effect and start to demonstrate to the other high schools in the Tampa Bay region all that can happen. In Pinellas, we've made a strong push for career academies throughout our high schools, and we brought and we have continued to bring that relevancy to this, and the innovation. But what I see 3DE is building upon that to having these corporate or business problems be brought into the school, kind of like a school innovation, and then that connection with them. So this is a wonderful opportunity for school districts, especially in Hillsborough and Pinellas, to truly take advantage of the things that we've already worked on. And so it's not just another add-on or bolt-on, but rather it's a complement to the things we've done. It's a complement to the training of our teachers. It's a complement to our students. And without a doubt, we're trying to graduate students with real-world problem-solving, innovation abilities that truly employers will want, and universities will want, and colleges will want, so that students can begin to build that pathway. So from a superintendent's perspective, there's nothing negative. It's all positive. It checks not only all the boxes, but it also checks those boxes in a meaningful way, not just as Jack said, not just we're adding something on. We're going to change the culture of high schools through this program. We're going to add to many of the innovative things that we've already done in our schools. So thank you for, again, I'm sure there'll be a Q&A after. If there's anything I can help with, I certainly will.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Grago, and I know everyone at JA Tampa Bay is really appreciative of your leadership during these times, and looking forward to a brighter future tomorrow. So someone that can testify on a first-hand experience as a former principal of a 3DE school. Dr. Duke Bradley III, he's the Vice President of School Leadership and Accountability for 3DE. Welcome, Dr. Duke. It's good to see you again.
Likewise, good to be with you. So first of all, amen to everything that Dr. Grago said in his remarks. What I will tell you very quickly is that although I currently serve in the area of leadership and accountability with 3DE, I was the former principal of Banneker High School, which was 3DE's very first school site. And although the school has really been lauded over the past several years for the turnaround that it has experienced, I think it's really important to note before telling the story of Banneker High School that there have been so many people and so many strategic decisions and courageous leadership that has been demonstrated by so many people that have actually facilitated that have actually kind of contributed to the growth and improvement of a school community. And I really think that when we talk about 3DE, I like to talk about it through that prism, through this idea that it really requires, if we're going to improve the quality of educational outcomes for our young people, it really requires so many people to lean in and to support and to ideate and to provide thoughtful solutions about what can be done. And I think in many ways, 3DE is a very strong example of that. And I also would be remiss not to mention teachers. I think obviously teachers have the most direct and measurable impact on student achievement, and they are really one kind of overlooked aspect of what we do in 3DE that really helps to produce strong results. So I really wanted to begin by kind of giving those folks a shout out. Banneker High School, it's very difficult, I think, in many ways to kind of talk about the depth of challenge that the school was experiencing at the time that 3DE began its partnership, not only with Banneker, but with Fulton County Schools in the Metro Atlanta area. If you think about Banneker through this lens, it had a 40% graduation rate. Not for 1 year, but for 3 consecutive years. And if you think about that, that's 6 in 10 kids that we were not graduating. And that's hundreds over a 3-year span. That data point alone, and there are many others that I think help to illustrate the depth of the challenge, or quite frankly, the failure that the school was experiencing. But I don't think that there is any one data point that is more compelling than that one, because I think that in many ways, that is the fundamental measure and function of a high school, which is to produce young people who are prepared to have access and be competitive in whatever their post-secondary pursuits may be. But there is no post-secondary experience for young people if they're actually not graduating. And so for 3 consecutive years prior to 3DE coming into Banneker High School, we were only graduating 4 out of every 10 kids, or 6 in 10 kids were not graduating. And I think that that's just horrible. And when now there were other, kind of data points that spoke to the abysmal failure of the school. But typically, when you are in process of transforming a school, there are no shortage of opinions about what's needed to actually improve it. And what I have learned is that folks typically fall into 2 different camps. One is the fire and brimstone camp. We've got to reconstitute the school. We've got to let everyone go. We've got to have new leadership. We've got to reset the culture of the school community. But the minority of people typically believe fundamentally in this idea that if we get it right as adults, then kids will get it right. And getting it right really means to make certain that kids are actually being exposed to academic experiences that are relevant for them, that unlock academic potential for them, that are engaging to them, that give them exposure to things that they otherwise may not experience. And if you do that, then culture actually takes care of itself. And so that is, quite frankly, the path that we followed. We did not follow kind of traditional means and traditional strategies for transforming school. What we did was we reflected on what are the things that we know help to, kind of enliven a school community. And quite frankly, 3DE was that catalyst. What we've also learned is that although Banneker is the very first, I think, proof point in a larger portfolio of 3DE schools. What we have really quickly come to find out is that this is good for all kids. It is not, like Jack mentioned, a bolt-on strategy. It is not a one-off or for a particular group of kids or for a set of kids that demonstrate proficiency or interest or skill in a particular thing. It is for all kids because we focus primarily on developing those 21st century skills and competencies that all kids need to be competitive. That is effective communication, collaboration, critical thinking skills, digital technical media literacy, all the things that we know will be required and, quite frankly, demanded of our young people as they transition into a workforce that will demand very different things than necessarily the standards that we have historically kind of held fast to, that we focus on in schools. And so this is really the beauty, I think, of the 3DE model. One additional anecdote that I would share is that as a principal, I have always really been inordinately preoccupied with what happens to our kids when they leave us. The imagery of students walking across the stage, getting a diploma, and shaking their principal's hand, I think suggests that they are ready for what life will present to them after they complete that process. But quite frankly, and I'm sure that this is a thought that so many other principals have had thinking about that particular imagery as well, is that what they know, whether they admit it readily or not, is that not every one of the young people that shake their hands and cross that stage are actually prepared with the kind of depth that they need, based in large part on the kind of experience that they had prior to graduation. And so while we were graduating young people at Banneker at a higher clip and at a higher rate and at a higher percentage, I felt much more confident that our 3DE students had had the kinds of experiences that they really need to be able to negotiate life beyond high school. And so that is why, really in no uncertain terms, that I think that this is right and appropriate for all kids. And so I think to the extent that parents and families and business community and educators are thinking about not only what it is that's necessary to transform schools, but really what's necessary to better prepare young people, I feel like it's very difficult to overlook some of the wonderful things that are happening within the 3DE community. And so, yeah, so I am a true believer in what we do. I've seen the results firsthand. And if I may just take for a minute, if we're talking about results, an improvement in over 30 percentage points in graduation rates. Compare that or contrast that also with the fact that we saw an 80% reduction in discipline incidents within the school community. So we didn't focus on culture and discipline. What we focused on was making sure that students were having a quality academic experience, and then everything else takes care of itself. A beating the odds school, which essentially means that we were outperforming other schools with similar demographics throughout the entire state, and every other meaningful statistical category has gone up with no regression. And so those are just a few data points about Banneker High School. But I think more importantly, like I mentioned, it is the confidence that you have about what a kid has experienced within the school community that reassures you that what they were exposed to through 3DE is really the thing that matters most. And so again, I'll be on to answer any questions you may have, and looking forward to that. Johnny, thank you again for the opportunity to share a few words.
Thank you very much, Dr. Duke. And we appreciate, I think, the success story of Banneker is a standout example of what we can achieve and in the community as a whole. So with that being said, I think if we can transition to our final guest speaker, he can proudly call himself a 3D alumni, and he is a 2020 Banneker High School graduate. So congratulations first and foremost, and welcome, Jalen Hudson.
Hey everyone, how you guys doing today? So if you don't know, my name is Jalen Hudson. I just want to say thank you for having me here today, and it's such an honor So about me, I'm a recent high school graduate from Banneker High School, and I'm actually officially a Banneker High School alum and a 3DE alum as well. So I just want to just say the experience for 3DE has been amazing. If it wasn't for 3DE, I would have never be this strong, independent, wise young man you see right here today in front of this camera speaking about my experience today. So about me growing up, basically as a student, I wasn't the straight A student, you can say. So growing up, I lacked a lot of stability educationally and socially. So like ever since like kindergarten or pre-K, I've been, moving from school to school. So basically I lacked a lot of skills. So that forced me to take special educational course. But in other words, I was on the individualized educational plan. So basically I needed more support in my classes. And with that, I was, high school being high school and middle school being middle school, you're going to get tormented for that. And I wasn't, really used to how, the structure worked for learning stuff new. And that's when my 8th grade year at Can Creek Middle School, I was given the opportunity to go to what was originally called JATB, which is now called 3DE. So basically, I was recruited to go to Banneker, even though I wasn't zoned for the school. I was recruited to go there and learn about all of these wonderful opportunities to learn about financial literacy, banking, investing, and insurance, and a lot of other stuff revolving around business and STEM. And that's what I really loved about the program. And what I most importantly love about 3DE is the monthly case studies. Like you get exposure to a lot of companies such as Chick-fil-A, Accenture, PwC, Cricket Wireless, and much more to come. With those case studies, you get the opportunity not only work, but to work with others that you may have never would have been able to work with in a lifetime. And you get the opportunity to work with people you don't even like sometimes. And that's how, the life is. You work with people you don't really know. And you get the opportunity to actually think critically and actually solve real world solutions. And that's really, really great because once you leave high school, you're not going to have opportunity to learn all those skills. So with that being said, the case studies give teens my age from ages like 14 to the age of 18 the opportunity to actually solve these type of rigor problems that actually can help apply to a lot of other situations like starting a business or being able to like finance and budget alone, or not even alone, just certain expenses in the long run. With that opportunity, 3D has provided me with a lot of certifications and licenses. For example, I was were granted the opportunity to gain a certification in Microsoft Office PowerPoint and Microsoft Office Word. So those give me like the credibility to actually perform and perfect PowerPoint presentations. And not only that, I've been also given the license to actually teach people in financial literacy as well through Wise and Everfi. But the main key component of what makes 3DE is the faculty and staff. The teachers, they're just so welcoming and they're just very opening. So one of the teachers that I was really close with before leaving Banneker High School, her name was Miss Moran. So before that, I was given the opportunity to really have a close relationship with her. And I was actually able to open up about me taking special educational courses and me being on an IEP. And she was really welcoming because of that. And if it wasn't for that close bond relationship, I would have really never had the opportunity to be close with any other teachers because every teacher is there for you to be open with and nice with. And as far as like the student life at Banneker and 3DE, you get the opportunity to be very flexible with your schedule. If you don't know me, I'm very involved in school. I actually was the former 2019-2020 3DE SGA Vice President. I was involved in Technology Student Association. And if you do not know what DECA is an organization that helps students find a passion in business and marketing and a lot of other competitive events. And not only that, I can be able to do that and do community service in my community as well. And with all of that going around, tossing it and doing all these activities, I was not only able to do that, I was able to maintain a 3.8 GPA and not only make the top 25, but ranked number 8 in my Banneker graduating class of 2020. It's just so great. And it's just, if you was to say any other magnet schools, or not even a magnet school, just a school, 3DE would be the place to go because you would never know what type of experience a student would get just by interacting with the parents, the teachers, the companies, just in general. The entire experience was great. And not only that, if it wasn't for 3DE, I wouldn't be granted the Posse Foundation Scholarship. So with the Posse Scholarship, I've been granted a full tuition scholarship to attend a private liberal arts school, which is the College of Worcester, and I'll be majoring in business economics. So as I close, I just want to say thank you for having me here. If it wasn't for this program, I would never had a friend like you guys, and I just want to say thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Jalen, and we're so happy to see you once again. We can't wait to see your career develop, and good luck at the College of Worcester. They've got a great asset in you right there. So thanks to all the guest speakers. That concludes our event in terms of speaking. You know, your leadership has really helped propel this whole program come down to Tampa Bay, and we really can't wait to see it in the fall of 2020. So with that, I'd like to, take any questions. I think we had a couple straight away. So Yvette wanted to know how were parents brought into the process or school experience. So if anyone wants to take that.
Yeah, Anita, if she's still on, that would be an awesome time for Anita James. There she is.
Hi, everyone. Great question. So our parents are brought into the process as it relates to the enrollment of our students or engagement of our students coming from 8th grade and introducing them to this model or school in their middle school years. So they are working with their school counselors to identify their interest in choice of school, and we make that a parallel conversation of introducing this to students and as well as introducing this model and opportunity to the parents of these students, so that they can understand what's being asked of the students, as well as the opportunity that's in front of them, and then as well as this parents have the opportunity to engage as it relates to parent orientation, that our 3DE staff and our 3DE teachers are constantly keeping in contact with our teachers as throughout their process. So the parents are absolutely engaged, and we look at parent engagement as a metric as it relates to student success. So we are successful as our parents are leaning in through this process as well. I hope they answered the question.
Thank you, Anita. I appreciate it. And Jalen, the rest of the questions are really more comments and congratulating you, and what a great student you are. And congratulations to Dr. Bradley for having such great students and all the students at Banneker High. Just wanted to point out we have amazing stakeholders, and we're so excited about the Tampa Bay market. We have, as Jack Harris mentioned, we have ReliaQuest, our national sponsor here from Tampa, but also joining, we have SunTrust, now Truist, which is also a national sponsor out of Atlanta. So we want to be here with all of these great national sponsors to help us with the heavy lift. But locally, that got us started, obviously, was ReliaQuest, but I also want to thank Raymond James as a market sponsor, Align, the Huff Family Foundation, Chad Chronister, Sheriff at Hillsborough County Sheriff's Department, Nielsen, Bank of America, Tech Data, Pamela Smuma, Pinellas Education Foundation, Riley Education Foundation, the Community Foundation of Tampa Bay, and the Hillsborough Education Foundation. So all of this has been a big lift, and we have plenty of room for others. So please give myself or Christina a call, and we'd love to have you. But if you have any other further questions, feel free to reach out to us. And we have one more
here, Rick. We have one more. We have Wynn was asking what are the characteristics of the Tampa schools that allowed them to be selected for 3DE?
And that's a very good question. And each school district, Wayne, handled their selection. Dr. Grago's still, if he's still on, he could probably take that for Pinellas, and Hillsborough had they both did it their own ways. Mike, you still on?
Yes, I am. Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, we both of us have a great deal of high schools, a number of high schools, and we looked for those schools that were prepped for this work. Also looked for schools that perhaps there was a gap in their curriculum that this would fill. And as we've been using this term, not something to just bolt onto the school, but really become an intricate part of the curriculum in the overall school. We'll start we'll start with a particular grade level, but then grow. And then, obviously, like anything else, we looked at the openness and the willingness of the leadership of the school. So we made it a little bit of competitive in terms of them learning and understanding what the 3D project was and wanted their buy-in on this. So it wasn't something that we were forcing or from a top down, but rather had them really take a look at the program and say, does this fit your school? So it wasn't something a district solely or isolated in an isolated way selected, but rather we certainly wanted the buy-in from the school. So hopefully that answers the question. There was no magical thing, but we certainly hope that this will grow in other schools.
Well, I appreciate that, Dr. Grago, and we're excited about expansion already talking about it. And I know Hillsborough, Wayne, actually had more of a competition. They had 6 schools vying for it, and they selected Hillsborough and Chamberlain. And but if we don't have any other further questions, we promise to be over at 3:45. And please, we're so excited about what's coming along with the launch. And I also like to thank our board of directors. Been amazing supporting this. And with the biggest transformation initiative we've had in our 55 years. So we're looking forward to the largest launch of 3DE in the country. So, hey, nothing's too big for our team. So we're looking forward to it and looking forward to working with all you. So again, feel free to reach out to us. Have a wonderful end of the week. And thank you for joining. Johnny, you did a great job. Appreciate it. Thank you, Jack, Duke, Jalen, Anita, and Mike. So appreciate y'all. Y'all have
Thank you.
Bye-bye.